Hello everyone, this is Jerome Waddle, and today's reading of Sermon 1 of the 7 Sermons to the Dead comprises the next section of Scrutinies from the Red Book. If you missed the previous readings of Scrutinies leading up to this section, the clickable links are listed in the description. A reminder is that Scrutinies is a summation of the previous 2 parts of the Red Book. Before reading of Sermon 1, let's look at the history behind Jung's 7 Sermons to the Dead. In January of 1916, 110 years ago, C.G. Jung, when he was 41 years old, he began his encounter with the dead that resulted in his famous 7 Sermons to the Dead. In his book Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, published in German in 1962, Jung recounted what followed. Around 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, the front doorbell began ringing frantically. Everyone immediately looked up to see who was there, but there was no one in sight. I was sitting near the doorbell and not heard it, but I saw it moving. We all simply stared at one another. The atmosphere was thick, believe me. The whole house was as if there was a crowd present, crammed full of spirits. They were packed deep right up to the door, and the air was so thick it was scarcely possible to breathe. As for myself, I was all a-quiver with the question, for God's sake, what in the world is this? Then they cried out in chorus, "We have come back from Jerusalem, where we found not what we sought." That is the beginning of the 7 Sermons to the Dead, Septem Sermones. Then the sermons, began to flow out of me, and in the course of 3 evenings the thing was written. As soon as I took up the pen, the whole ghastly assemblage evaporated. The room quieted and the atmosphere cleared. The haunting was over. Jung had what nowadays is called a spiritual experience or a noetic experience download, and he was serving as the medium or channeling, and he was channeling Philemon. See my video, Have You Ever Had a Mystical Experience? That describes the variety of noetic or parapsychological experiences that are now being scientifically documented. Jung was no stranger to the autonomous aspect of the psyche, and channeling, as his maternal grandfather was a psychic, and Jung attended his cousin Healy's seances in June of 1895 with Healy and some other cousins, including his mediumistic mother until 1899. In 1902, Jung published his dissertation on the psychology and pathology of so-called occult phenomenon while working at the psychiatric clinic. In Memories, Dreams, and Reflection, Jung explicitly states, "No doubt it was connected to the state of emotion I was in at the time, and which was favorable to parapsychological phenomena." Jung realized that the ancient knowledge he received was precious, and later showed that it provided answers about the inherent architecture and operational systems of the human psyche and the SCOLDS seeking wholeness, or what he called the process of individuation. The analogy of a seed, when properly nourished, becoming a manifestation of its true nature. Thus, Jung found his task to give birth to the ancient in a new time is creation. This is the creation of the new, and that redeems me. Salvation is the resolution of the task. The task is to give birth to the old in a new time. That's from the Red Book, page 311. Jung's experience was his baseline and in his future works as he explored a vast array of areas such as religions, East and West, Hermeticism, alchemy, astrology, in order that he could draw analogies that provided proof of his realization of the psyche's architecture. There are 3 versions to the 7 Sermons of the Dead. Jung's original experience in 1916, recorded in Black Books 5 and 6. Jung's transcribed and edited version in 1916 in the Red Book Scrutinies, page 346 to 354, which we'll be reading. And he also published a private version in 1916, where he cast the experience as a Gnostic creation myth by Basilides that he only gave out to trusted friends and associates that he thought grasped the meaning of his psychology. Rather than using Philemon as he did in Scrutinies, he cast the story of the channeling information that was coming through him as being Basilides, who was an early Christian Gnostic religious teacher in Alexandria, Egypt, who taught from 117 to 138 AD. Jung has been repeatedly criticized and accused of being a Gnostic, which is unfortunate in that Jung's experience was a timeless, perennial, universal experience of the roots and foundation of the human psyche that have been experienced throughout human history by many cultures with many different names. His psychology is not Gnostic in the sense that he did not practice it as a discipline, but recognized that the Gnostic texts contain some essential missing pieces that are omitted from the Christian canon. He quoted, "Not one tittle of Christian law is abrogated, but instead we are adding a new one, accepting the lament of the dead." The ancient Christian Gnostic texts had been successfully repressed after the Eastern Roman Emperor Theodosius I established a spiritual monopoly of Christian orthodoxy in 381 AD. Many of the Gnostics were persecuted and killed, and many forced to go underground. By documenting what was deemed heresy, they inadvertently described many of the Gnostic texts. Additionally, a discovery of the thought to have been destroyed Gospels were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt in 1945. Jung's experience and realization mirrored that of the roots behind the Gnostic cosmology, as well as Hermeticism, alchemy, and Eastern religion. And his task in life's work was to show what was missing and how we should address the perennial elements of the psyche. These elements, when expressed, are painted or portrayed differently with symbols for that particular time and culture. Author Hermann Hesse received a copy of the 7 Sermons of the Dead, and his novel, Demian, was modeled after his personal experience in Jungian analysis. During a 3-week period in September to October 1917, Hesse penned his novel, Demian, which was published in 1919 under the pseudonym Emile St. Clair. Subsequently, the current very popular Korean pop group BTS produced a series of songs and videos reenacting Hermann Hesse's Demian. In 2016, they produced the Wings album music video. This was a creative, modern reenactment of Hermann Hesse's book Demian, recognizing and confronting Abraxas as part of their growing up and individuation process. For more information, see a panel discussion that shows how BTS Wings uses C.G. Jung's Depth Psychology. Since 2017, BTS has portrayed and conveyed Jung's psychology, Map for the Soul, in their music videos. Two weeks prior to writing the 7 sermons, Jung drew his first mandala that defined the terms and concept of the words that he used in Sermons of the Dead. See my video, I'm a Fixed Star, where I read the Black Book 5, pages 163 to 178. Now for the first sermon. But one night, a dark crowd knocked at my door, and I trembled with fear. Then my soul feared and said in haste,
"They are here and will tear open your door,
so that the wicked herd can break into my garden? Should I be plundered and thrown out onto the street? You make me into an ape and a child's plaything. When, oh my God, shall I be saved from this hell of fools? But I want to hack to pieces your cursed webs. Go to hell, you fools. What do you want with me?" But she interrupted me and said,
"What are you talking about? Let the Dark One speak."
I retorted, "How can I trust you? You work for yourself, not for me. What good are you if you can't even protect me from the devil's confusion?"
"Shh! Be quiet, or else you'll disturb the work."
And as she spoke these words, behold, Philemon came up to me, dressed in a white robe of a priest, and laid his hand on my shoulder. Then I said, "The Dark Ones, so speak, you dead." And immediately they cried out in many voices, "We have come back from Jerusalem, where we did not find what we sought. We implore you to let us in. You have what we desire, not your blood, but your light. That is it." Then Philemon lifted his voice and taught them, saying, and this is the first sermon of the dead, "Now here, I begin with nothingness. Nothingness is the same as fullness. In infinity, full is as good as empty. Nothingness is empty and full. You might just as well say anything else about nothingness. For instance, that it is white or black, or that it does not exist, or that it exists. That which is endless and eternal has no qualities, since it has all qualities. We call this nothingness or fullness the pleroma. Therein both thinking and being cease. Since the eternal and endless possess no qualities, no one is in it, for he would then be distinct from the pleroma and would possess qualities that would distinguish him as something distinct from the pleroma. In the pleroma, there is nothing and everything. It is fruitless to think about the pleroma, for this would mean self-disillusion. Creation is not in the pleroma, but in itself. The pleroma is the beginning and end of creation. It pervades creation, just as the sunlight pervades the air. Although the pleroma is altogether pervasive, creation has no share in it, just as a wholly transparent body becomes neither light nor dark through the light pervading it. We are, however, the pleroma itself, for we are part of the eternal and the endless, but we have no share therein, as we are infinitely removed from the pleroma. not spatially or temporally, but essentially, since we are distinguished from the pleroma in our essence as creation, which is confined within time and space. Yet, because we are parts of the pleroma is also in us. Even in the smallest point, the pleroma is endless, eternal, and whole, since small and great are qualities that are contained in it. It is nothingness that is whole and continuous throughout. Only figuratively, therefore, do I speak of creation as part of the pleroma, because actually the pleroma is nowhere divided, since it is its nothingness. We are also the whole pleroma, because figuratively, the pleroma is the smallest point in us, merely assumed, not existing, and the boundless firmament about us. But why then do we speak of the pleroma at all, if it is everything and nothing? I speak about it in order to begin somewhere, and also to free you from the delusion that somewhere without or within there is something fixed or in some way established from the outset. Every so-called fixed and certain thing is only relative. That alone is fixed and certain that is subject to change. Creation, however, is subject to change. Therefore, it alone is fixed and determined because it has qualities. Indeed, it is quality itself. Thus we ask, how did the creation come into being? Creatures came into being, but not creation, since creation is the very quality of the pleroma, as much as non-creation, eternal death. Creation is ever present, and so is death. The pleroma has everything, differentiation and non-differentiation. Differentiation is creation. It is differentiated. Differentiation is its essence, and therefore it differentiates. Therefore man differentiates, since his essence is differentiation. Therefore he also differentiates the qualities of the pleroma that do not exist. He differentiates them on account of his own essence. Therefore, he must speak of those qualities of the pleroma that do not exist. You say, what use is there of speaking about it at all? Did you yourself not say that it is not worth thinking about the pleroma? I mentioned that to free you from the delusion that we are able to think about the pleroma. When we distinguish the qualities of the pleroma, we are speaking from the ground of our own differentiated state and about our own differentiation, but have effectively said nothing about the pleroma. Yet, we need to speak about our own differentiation so that we may sufficiently differentiate ourselves. Our very true nature is differentiation. If we are not true to this nature, we do not differentiate ourselves enough. We must therefore make distinctions between qualities. You ask, what harm is there in not differentiating oneself? If we do not differentiate, we move beyond our essence, beyond creation, and we fall into non-differentiation, which is the other quality of the pleroma. We fall into the pleroma itself and cease to be created beings. We lapse into dissolution and nothingness. This is the death of the creature. Therefore, we die to the same extent we do not differentiate. Hence, the creature's essence strives toward differentiation and struggles against primeval perilous sameness. This is called the differentium individuationis. This principle is the essence of the creature. From this, you can see why non-differentiation and non-distinction pose a great danger to the creature. We must therefore discuss the qualities of the pleroma. These qualities are pairs of opposites, such as the effective and the ineffective, the fullness and the emptiness, the living and the dead, the different and the same, light and darkness, hot and cold, force and matter, time and space, good and evil, the beautiful and the ugly, the one and the many, etc. The pairs of opposites are qualities of the pleroma that do not exist because they cancel themselves out. As we are the pleroma itself, we also have these qualities in us. Since our nature is grounded in differentiation, we have these qualities in the name and under the sign of differentiation, which means, first, these qualities are differentiated and separate in us. Therefore, they do not cancel each other out, but are effective. Thus, we are the victims of the pairs of opposites. The pleroma is rent within us. Second, these qualities belong to the pleroma, and we must possess and live them only in the name and under the sign of differentiation. We must differentiate ourselves from these qualities. They cancel each other out in the pleroma, but not in us. Distinction from them saves us. When we strive for the good or the beautiful, we forget our essence, which is differentiation, and we fall subject to the spell of the qualities of the pleroma, which are the pairs of opposites. We endeavor to attain the good and the beautiful, yet at the same time we also seize the evil and the ugly, since in the pleroma these are one with the good and the beautiful. But if we remain true to our essence, which is differentiation, we differentiate ourselves from the good and beautiful, and hence from the evil and ugly, and thus we do not fall under the spell of the pleroma, namely into nothingness and disillusion. You object, you said, that difference and sameness are also qualities of the pleroma. What is it like if we strive for distinctiveness? Are we in so doing not true to our own nature? And must we nonetheless fall into sameness when we strive for distinctiveness? You must not forget that the pleroma has no qualities. We create these through thinking it. If therefore you strive for distinctiveness or sameness or any qualities whatsoever, you pursue thoughts that flow to you out of the pleroma. Thoughts, namely, concerning the non-existing qualities of the pleroma. Inasmuch as you run after these thoughts, you fall again into the pleroma and attain distinctiveness and sameness at the same time. Not your thinking, but your essence is differentiation. Therefore, you must not strive for what you conceive as distinctiveness, but for your own essence. At bottom, therefore, there is only one striving, namely the striving for one's own essence. If you had this striving, you would not need to know anything about the pleroma and its qualities, and yet you would attain the right goal by virtue of your own essence. Since, however, thought alienates us from our essence, I must teach you that knowledge with which you can bridle your thoughts. The dead faded away grumbling and moaning, and their cries died away in the distance. But I turned to Philemon and said, "My father, you utter strange teachings. Did not the ancients teach similar things? And was it not a reprehensible heresy, removed equally from love and the truth? And why do you lay out such a teaching to this horde, which the right winds whirled up from the dark flood fields of the west. My son, Philemon replied, these dead ended their lives too early. They were seekers and therefore still hover over their graves. Their lives were incomplete, since they knew no way beyond the one to which belief had abandoned them. But since no one teaches them, I must do so. That is what love demands, since they want it to hear, even if they grumble. But why do I impart this teaching of the ancients? I teach in this way because their Christian faith, once discarded and persecuted precisely this teaching, but they repudiated Christian belief and hence were rejected by that faith. They do not know this, and therefore I must teach them so that their life may be fulfilled and they can enter into death. But do you, O wise Philemon, believe what you teach? My son, Philemon replied, why do you raise this question? How could I teach what I believe? Who would give me the right to such belief? It is what I know how to say, not because I believe it, but because I know it. If I knew better, I would teach better, but it would be easy for me to believe more. Yet, should I teach a belief to those who have discarded belief? And I ask you, is it good to believe something even more if one does not know better? But, I retorted, are you certain that things really are as you say? To this, Philemon answered, I do not know whether it is the best that one can know, but I know nothing better, and therefore I am certain that these things are as I say. If they were otherwise, I would say something else, since I would know them to be otherwise. But these things are as I know them, since my knowledge is precisely these things themselves. My father, is that your guarantee that you are not mistaken? There are no mistakes in these things, Philemon replied. There are only different levels of knowledge. These things are as you know them. Only in your world are things always other than you know them, and therefore there are only mistakes in your world. After these words, Philemon bent down and touched the earth with his hands and disappeared. So this was the end of Sermon 1, and thank you for listening, and any comments that you care to make would be appreciated. And stay tuned for Sermon number 2 of the 7 Sermons of the Dead. And thanks again for my dear friend Joss for reading The Part of the Soul.